Hey, I've messed up the camera. There we go. Hey everyone, Russ of Aquarimax here. We're going to look at some isopods today. I'm excited to see that my Armadillidium gestroy, whatever you want to say, are doing really well. I got a couple of dozen of these back in, when was it? Let me check the date here on the bin. I think I put the date on. I think it was in October. Yeah, October 24th is when I got these. A couple of dozen Armadillidium gestroy, but they were tiny things at the time. Very little manke. Almost impossible to see them. They were so tiny. And now they're almost to the point where they're breeding. I haven't had any mortality as far as I'm aware, and they're getting big. And they're very beautiful isopods. So I'm pretty excited to see them breeding. To hopefully see them breeding soon. I've heard that they will breed only when they reach like full size, which is unusual for isopods. Most isopods will breed at about a third of their adult size. So we'll see what we get, but they're gorgeous at any rate, and they seem to be doing really well. And I thought I'd just pop in here and check. I don't see any babies, but I do see lots of healthy adults. Just look at that color. Okay, I'm gonna reorient myself here a little bit so that I can see the chat. Here we go. So, Zero Cool, Luca, Adventure, Calcanort, Some Eggs, and MW. Greetings, everyone. Glad to see you here. I got some fun stuff from Damien the other day. We did a trade, an isopod trade. And I'll be explaining more about that later. Damien from Nocturnal Exotics got some good stuff. So, with these guys, I started with about, I think it was 2 dozen-ish of these Armadillidium gestroy. And that's about how many I have right now because they haven't bred yet, but they are just getting to the size when I think they will start. So that was for Amazon Guy. Grayson, hello. Platy Cam TM. Okay, cool. Yep, still playing with the bugs. And Crystal, hello. And thank you. And Friendly Pet Adventure, have you ever looked into Isopod a Pet? I think I follow them on Instagram. Hold my microphone off. Sorry about that. I'm going to pull out some other isopods, folks. We're going to see what we got here. Just maybe everybody's kind of sick of staying at home and wants to see something a little different from what you've got at your own home, huh? This one, another interesting looking one. This is my new one. Mickey, I'm nice to see you here. And let's see, Zero Cool, Isopods to Texas. I think that's one of the few states I still have left. I have a ton of states. I think I'm up to 40 states that I can ship to, and also the District of Columbia. But I have restrictions on the ones that I can sell. But these are my milk backs. Just thought I'd show that. But Zero Cool, hopefully Texas will be soon. Still waiting on that. Look at those markings. They're just fabulous. I know you may have seen my recent unboxing of these guys. And I've actually, the unboxing was a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when. And I just posted the video last Friday. But they're doing pretty well. I've been just checking occasionally to see if I have any babies in here. I can see some springtails kicking around. I don't see any babies yet, but these milkbacks are pretty cool looking. I like them. Let's see. And Anemopolis, cool. Welcome. Good afternoon to you. Smallest number you've started a colony with? I've done it with 16. Good question. I've started with as few as, let's see, I'm trying to figure that out. Just a couple, really, in some situations. The dwarf whites that I had, I didn't know I got them originally until I started seeing a few show up in other colonies and pulled them out. That was when I started isopods like 7 or so years ago. I'm going to put these guys back. There aren't very many of them yet, but they're cool. So And let's see. How fast do isopods breed? Depends on the species. Dairy cows are really fast. So are Porcellonides pruinosus and some of the other species. Dwarf whites can be really fast with the right temperatures. There are some species that seem to take a long time to get started, and once they get going, then they're really fast. Let's see, what should we look at now? I'm going to pull these out because these are always fun to see. Just a second here. Big bin. Catch up with the, let's see, website for selling inverts, aquarimax.com. I have a stock list up for that on that website, and that's where I sell all of my inverts from, pretty much. I do sell some locally and whatnot as well, but that's the main place to go. Now that doesn't look like a lot from here because a lot of them are hiding under stuff. There are actually quite a ton in here, and they're all under there too. They're everywhere. These dairy cows, love the dairy cows. Let's see, gonna catch up. And I'm glad, Pletty Cam, you're still enjoying the stream. Pokesaurus, greetings. And Grayson, where did I get the what? Chad Krotz, good evening. Jordan Savala, howdy. And where did you get the, majority of your isopods. I can't really say exactly because I get them from all different sources. I got some from Bugs in Cyberspace. I got some from Ian Tomich, who doesn't really produce them anymore. I got some from Oren McMonagle. I got some from a Frogger. When I first got started, I got my first few colonies from him. His name was Gabe, and then I got quite a few from another Frogger friend of mine named Frank's Frogs. And then I've gotten some from just various people over the past few years, various groups of them from the various people. My most recent acquisitions, the milk packs, came from arachnoboards.com, and as well did some of the others from a user. Well, her real name is Stephanie. So all over the place, really. I've got some from captiveisopoda.com. Let's see. My nephew was helping me clean. He observed the strongest colonies were the springtail population. I would agree. That seems to happen. And Zero Cool wants to see some zebras. We can do that. Those are one of my favorites too. It's always hard to pick a favorite, but dairy cows are up there for me. Zebras are up there for me. I'm trying to figure out if I can actually fit my larger zebra colony up there or not on that platform that I have, my makeshift platform there. We'll see. I think this one is hard to fit in the screen, so I'll have to try to focus and see what we can come up with. There's some right there. Yeah. And let's see. Still catching up here. So yeah, they're cool. There's a few of the zebras. There's a lot of them are hiding over here in the peat moss, and it's hard to move. There's a lot of them over here in the moss, the sphagnum moss, I should say. And these guys need more leaves, definitely. They've been going through the leaves pretty fast. Need to fix that. But I've got a lot in here. And let's see. I love their patterns. They're awesome. So horrific dude. Cut a lot of isopods and put them together. Haven't noticed a difference in population. It does take some time, especially wild caught. The captive ones seem to breed a little faster, honestly, in my experience. Let's see. Slav Pepe's here with the Iso Squad Thoroughpods too. And let's see. 6-year-old has 5 isopod colonies. All the ghost scabbers are breeding. The ghosts seem to slowly be dwindling instead. Do albinos have more issues like in other animals? I haven't really worked with ghosts, so I'm not sure. It could be. Some albinos do, that's true, have vigor issues or whatever, because they can be a little less fit. I imagine with isopods that wouldn't be as much of a case, just because they are so they like the dark anyway, you know, so they're not going to get fried or anything. And let's see. Hello there, Miraculous Illustrator. And yes, rubber duckies are expensive. And you're welcome, Damien. We did a trade, and he got some Magnificus, and I'm going to keep it a secret what I got for a little while because I want to make a video about it. And I can show some bigger isopods in a minute. Yep. How long did your Scolopendra polymorpha live for? Well, so far, we've had her for about, is it 3 or is it 4 years? It's either 3 or 4 years, and we got her when she was an adult, and we still have her. I mean, she's been kind of brewmating for the last little while, so hopefully she's still alive, but I would imagine she is. She's done pretty well for quite a few years, so yeah. And oh, let's see. I could probably show one of my tanks. Let's see. Which one should I do? I've got one that I've been experimenting with. Maybe I could show you that one. It's got some plants in it. I've got a couple I've been experimenting with. So they're not the most attractive right now, but still kind of fun. So Luca Castillo, wonder why my dwarf white do fine, but if I collect from outdoors, they die. They are a little bit more sensitive if you collect them from outdoors. Sometimes for a while, I often have gotten, few of the ones that I have now were originally from wild-caught populations, and there's often some die-off at first, and then the ones that survive breed, and then their babies are more adapted to captivity. So let's see. Besides springtails, how do you prevent mold and fungus? I do, let's see. One thing is not to overfeed. Remove food when it gets old before it has a chance to mold. Don't put any food on the substrate directly, especially wet food on the substrate directly. Put it on cork bark, something like that. Put it on a magnolia leaf, something of that sort. That can help reduce mold issues. Mold is kind of inevitable at first in a culture, it seems like, unless you start out with a huge number of isopods in it. Even then it may be an issue. Those are some of the things that I would say. Cross ventilation, so ventilation on the sides, not just on the top, can make a big difference. Those are some things that will help. And also making sure you put the food on the dry side of the enclosure. That can help as well. I do have a few rubber duckies. And right here are my Armadillidium klugi. Let's see what we got in here today. We got a lot of klugi. Love the colors on these guys. And there are quite a few of them in here. They always scatter as soon as I lift open the container, and most of these are young ones, but cool species. Can isopods tub get overpopulated will affect reproduction? Yes and yes. They can, but they can usually reach really large numbers before that's too much of a problem. But yeah, they'll start using up the resources pretty fast, and even resort to cannibalism if you don't take care of it. And they will have fewer resources for reproduction if you don't take care of it. So it's best to split a culture once it gets too big. And yeah. And welcome, Wally. Good to see you in. So Family Pet Adventure, you have a Wallstead. I don't have a Wallstead aquarium right now. What I am doing, I have one that is an experiment in aquaponics, where I have a huge pothos plant that is, I don't know, I probably have 40 feet of pothos coming out of the tank and surrounding my windowsill. And then I have water lettuce on the top. And I'm trying to see how much I need to get going to fight algae. And there's still algae in the tank, despite having this huge amount of biomass in terms of immersed pothos growth with all the roots growing in the tank. So the tank is like 1/3 roots. The water column is 1/3 roots of pothos. So it's kind of crazy. Let's see. So, how long does it take for isopods to mature, and do they have an ultimate molt like insects where they stop growing? Well, it depends on the species how long it takes them to mature. Some are fast growers, some not quite as fast. So it's hard to give you a generalization there, but it usually takes several months for them to grow up completely, and it depends on the species too, like I said. And as far as I know, they don't have an ultimate molt, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I do know that they are sexually mature in most cases before they are full-sized. So in that sense, like there's some spiders, they're not sexually mature until they reach a specific size, and then they stop growing when they mature. But they're not like that. At least most of them aren't. Let's see what I got over here. Oh, there's one molting. And look at that. I've got an orange Dalmatian got in there, a little bugger. Got to get that out of there, as well as a just a Porcellio scaber orange. I've been trying to get those out of there for months. At first I thought they were just Porcellio Hoffmannsegii that were mutated, and I thought that would be awesome. You have orange ones, they're like Porcellio magnificus. But they're not. They get in here. That kind of thing happens sometimes, which is kind of frustrating. I do love my Hoffmannsegii though. Cool isopods. Let's see. So, I don't know if we're going to keep... There's so many things going on here. So, let's see. I'm going to put this here. So, sorry about that. Let's see where I am. Where am I? So it's really easy to keep and breed zebras, pretty much. They just need good ventilation, really, and a dry side and a moist side. Plenty of food, and they'll do well. They usually tend to breed really, really well. So, Captain Obvious, a paludarium for a regal jumping spider. Cool. Would it be okay to add isopods? Possibly. Sometimes the Phidippus spiders will try to eat isopods. I've experimented with offering mine, my Phidippus audax powder blues, and it took one. And then they couldn't, it didn't want to eat it after that. They didn't like them after that, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's see. Trying to see what I should check out. Which are some good isopods to look at now? You can see how my high yellows are doing. Still not terribly, need to go through and separate out the ones that I want to keep for the next generation to see if I can get them breeding. I've done a couple of selections over the generations, but it's been long enough. I need to do it again, for sure. Let's see what I got. We take a look here. See if we can get a good look at some of these. And pull up the chat. Okay. Good place to go for Isopod identification. Good question. I would go into the Isopod Facebook groups. There's some that got on the lid. None of those are particularly high yellow. Yeah, that one's not bad. It's a little focus on it. If I can, you can see some yellow on it. Not great. Let's see. I can find some well-marked individuals. There's one. That one's got good markings. That's really nicely marked one there. Okay, so and keep going. Handled waxworms can handle any isopods. Yeah, waxworms are not nearly as fun, are they? So how do they get in the wrong enclosures? Well, I think sometimes what happens is you get a leaf, and I know that this has happened before. You get a leaf like this. You can't see that. a leaf like this sticking out when the lid gets put down, and there's a little gap, and this is a little ladder, and they climb up and get out like that. So you need to make sure when you close it, there aren't any leaves or stems or anything sticking out like that, because they can't climb clean, smooth plastic. So if you're careful about that, they can't get out. Of course, I'm not entirely sure that Porcellionid aesperinosus can't teleport, because sometimes it seems like that's what they do. But other than that species, I think, let's see. Yeah, dwarf whites are really good with dart frogs. Florida fast would be good too. And what perks do we get for Patreon? Well, it depends. The first one is, if you send me a question via Patreon, I will either make you a video specifically answering your question and referring to you if you want me to, or make sure that your answer gets answered at the beginning of a live stream. But if it's a video that I can make, these are my calicos here. I need to put another piece of wood in here. This one's too small. Then I can make a video that's just dedicated to your question in many cases, and I will do that. That's the first level. And then the next level is you can get an Aquarimax t-shirt if you are a Patreon supporter for a certain amount of time. And I will even help you, like you can help design what's on the t-shirt in some cases. And I also post short video clips and pictures, sneak peeks, that kind of stuff on the Patreon page. And I'm also thinking about other things that I will do, but so far you get the sneak peeks in video and photo form. I do questionnaires. I ask people, what do you want to see next, so that you can have input on which videos are coming up, and then I'll make videos to answer your questions, and then the t-shirts. So there are some things there. And what species is your velvet ant? Well, right now I have Dasymatilla vestita. My Dasymatilla klugi recently passed away, which was sad. They just don't live all that long, and since they're reproducing, they're not reproducing in captivity, it's kind of a sad deal. And it's one of the few creatures that I keep that doesn't reproduce well in captivity. Let's see. Trying to make sure I catch up. With a full-grown emperor scorpion, I would put dwarf purples like Cloud 9.5 said. Ever put bones in your enclosures? I don't think I've done bones. Eggshells definitely. Cuttle bones, yes. But I haven't put bones in there. And Ken Malinsky, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been really excited that we've got some more Patreon supporters lately, and it's really making a difference in the things I can do, I'll tell you that. So I really appreciate that, Ken. Family Pet Adventure. Have you ever kept Florida cow killer velvet ants? I don't think I've kept the kind from Florida yet, but I would be open to it if I can get them, yeah. And Mickey M, do you think some species have breeding seasons, some that breed year-round? With isopods, yeah. Yeah, I think it seems to me that the Porcellio, a lot of the giant Spanish Porcellio, not all of them, but some of them, like Hoffman's Eggi and Magnificus, seem to have a breeding season. And some of them don't. Dairy cows definitely don't. Breeding season is now and forever. But yeah, I think some of them do. My Hoffman's Eggi reproduce really well in certain seasons, and then they just kind of slow down. So I would say so, for sure. Let's see, what else are we going to look at here? Show my whiteouts, see how they're doing. They need some more leaves. They've been eating these leaves like crazy. Let's see. Would you use zebras and dart frog tanks for clown isopods? I would not, because they need more air movement, more ventilation, and they also need more, basically lower humidity and more ventilation, at least more of a humidity gradient. and more ventilation. These are a fairly new group of isopods for me. I've had them for a lot less than any of my other Porcelionides pruinosus, but the whiteouts are doing pretty well. Let's see. Many of my Armadillidium isopods breed a lot during the summer and don't when it's winter. There you go. Are you planning on putting up millipedes up for sale on the site? Not until my permits come in for millipedes. I used to have them on the site, and then I found out that I have to have permits with millipedes just like isopods, so I took them down. But hopefully that'll come through eventually. I'm getting close. I think I only have 9 pending applications out, and one of those is just for, I'm not going to do the selling millipedes until those come in, so I need to apply for those after I get the other ones for millipedes. So it's a crazy business. Florida is supposed to be home to 50 different species of Elvedant. That's awesome. I need to go there again. It's been a while. And thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate you coming by, and yeah, maybe you should try zebras. Then you'll be hooked. Yeah, and you don't really want really big isopods for dart frogs, unless you're keeping Terribilis, and then they'll eat them. But mediocre art creator, glad to hear it. You got some canyon isopods. That's awesome. Gemma K, nice to see you here. Dairy cows for dart frogs, not necessarily. Dairy cows are often thought to be, well, we know that they love protein. They love their protein, and they just might get a little too interested in eating eggs, tadpoles, possibly even adult frogs, unless they were, fed very well. So I wouldn't recommend putting them in there necessarily. I haven't kept them with dart frogs. I haven't had any bad experiences with them, but a lot of people say, I could see that being an issue just because of how crazy hungry they are all the time. And the dart frogs will eat some of them, but they won't finish all of them off. That's the thing. As long as they're, they have a good microenvironment, the isopods will continue to breed well and produce, essentially, oh, hold on, I'm trying to catch something here. Okay, got it. They will replenish their population to some degree, just because they'll be breeding in there under the substrate. There's a lot of ornatus in there. You can even see some baby ornatus. There's another species that seems to breed all the time. But, so they're an example of a Porcelio, large Spanish Porcelio that does not have a breeding season, unless it's just all the time. Let's see. Yeah, the duckies are pretty cool ones. Let's see. The isopods I collected from my yard are a lot more active than they were last time I checked in. Good. Sounds like they're acclimating pretty well then. I'm going to put these ornatus this way you can see them a little bit better. So Wally says, new isopod keepers know about rubber duckies, dairy cows, zebras, clowns. What would be an underrated isopod you would suggest to the new owner? Well, this would be one right here. Porcelio ornatus yellow dot. A lot of people don't know about them, but they're really active. They get pretty big. They're bigger than a lot of the others. And the little spots on them, which you don't necessarily see unless you get closer, are really cool. So I would say this is a good underrated isopod species. But there are some others too. Let me pull some out. I think that's a great question, Wally, and glad you brought that up, because I've got some of them right over here. I know that's so exciting to stare at that empty thing there. Oh, this is the one. I got my containers mixed up. Sorry. My containers all look the same. I might want to think about relabeling some of them. Okay, there we go. This very good underrated isopod species, the powder orange, and most of them are hiding down there in the substrate. There are so many in there. They breed really fast. They tend to be active in the daytime. They have a fairly small size, but they move fast. They have interesting colors, and I really like them. They're great for a wide variety of cleanup crew situations, and they're like basically bulletproof. The only thing is they do need some ventilation in like a dry spot. They need a humidity gradient. Other than that, they're pretty much bulletproof. Okay, so hopefully that's a species some of you will try out. I love these guys. They're awesome, and that definitely needs to be moistened. Let's see. Is there a price for the permit per state or just a one-time fee for all 50 states? There's no fee at all. That's the awesome thing. These permits don't cost a thing. They don't cost time. They just cost time. And it is considerable time commitment to get them all set up. But other than that, they don't cost anything. Let's see. I'm just kind of randomly pulling things from the shelves here, folks. Let's look at the orange Dalmatian colony for a minute. See if we can find some nice ones in there. This is a colony that needs to be culled because it's got wild types, or not wild types. It's got the just normal Dalmatians in there as well as the oranges. You can see a couple of them there. It's got some really nice oranges in here too. See some wandering about. If I can focus on them, see there's some pretty decent ones in there. Some stunners actually. I just need to go in there and cull some out of the wild types and put them in with my lottery mix. Okay, so other than dwarf whites, what we use for darts? Florida Fast and dwarf purples and dwarf striped are some that come to mind. Possibly Silisticus convexus. I think if I add Armadillidium granulatum, T. tomentosa, and P. perinos to 6-foot snake bio, one will outcompete the other. Yeah, my money would be on, depending on how humid it is in there, I think Trichorena tomentosa will probably outcompete the others if it's fairly humid, and P. pruinosus will outcompete the others if it's drier. So yeah, each state needs its own permit, so you need to apply separately for each state to send to each state. And they're different. For example, to Oregon, Louisiana, and Florida, I'm more restricted about which species I can send there. I don't think I can send any Porcelia laevis to any of those 3 states. But those are the only 3 states so far that have that kind of restriction, and there are a few species they won't allow. Let's see. Can isopods or springtails survive in sand? I'm starting an ant farm this summer and considering having either as a cleanup crew. Some could, as long as they have access to, if the main substrate is sand. People have done that with hermit crab enclosures for years, where they will keep isopods in there, and some can do just fine. They do need, enough food, but as long as they get enough food, then they'll be okay, and the humidity is fine, and the ventilation is fine. I should qualify. But yeah, people do it in hermit crab containers successfully with isopods, and they'll breed in there, so it can happen. I don't know if the ants will let them survive. Species I have looks just like the yellow one dot when you showed, but they seem to be Armadillidium. Any idea what they could be? If they are an Armadillidium and they have the yellow dots like that, they could just be Armadillidium vulgare. There are some populations with yellow spots on them. That's not uncommon. Depending on where you're collecting, if you're in Europe, there could be more. There could be others that could be too. Okay. Any species that are always above ground? Well, dairy cows and Porcelionides pruinosus and Porcelia ornatus are my 3 go-tos for species that are really active during the day. You see them above ground. And zebra pillbugs are not too far behind. Yeah, those pet oranges will go crazy. So magnolia leaves and magnolia pods and stuff, I bake them about 200 degrees, half an hour. Thanks for the leg, Spike. Giant Canyon isopods. Yeah, I've sold off most of my really big adults. I do have some babies and juveniles. I don't have any big adults right now, but we can look at them for a second until they bury themselves, because they're really good at that. Oh, did I pick up the wrong one?
No, this is it. These are my giant Kenyas, but as you can see, none of these are big. They're all young'uns. And now they're all going to bury themselves. That one's not too small, but still it's not full size. I don't have any full-sized ones in there. But I'm sure I have a lot of babies because they'll reproduce at a small size. Yeah, I can see some little ones in there. So, let's see. And good luck with your permits, Arizo's Exotics. Fungus gnats, friend or foe? And if foe, what do you do to combat them? I'm not a big fan. My wife's not a big fan. Whoa, you need more sphagnum moss in there. They eat it. Some of them eat it really fast. Some of them don't eat it so much. Not very fast. Let's check out the peaches, see how they're doing. I guess I gotta go in a minute here. How are my peaches? Oh, they're all in the wet, the moist hide in the sphagnum moss side of things. That must mean it's getting a little dry over here, huh? There's some over here. But yeah, I probably need to moisten this side a little bit because they're all over on the moist side. So time to do that. Let's see. Well, I don't really like the fungus gnats a lot, and my wife really doesn't like them. So I put up there's the Raid fly ribbons. They'll stick to that, and if you replace them frequently, they will get stuck on those. Springtails help combat them. The type of covering on your ventilation can help keep them out. And yeah, I think that's largely it. I think I've done some experimentation with mosquito dunks that seems to be pretty effective because mosquito dunks will kill the larvae of fungus gnats, but they're very specific to larvae of fungus gnats and mosquitoes and other fly larvae. So that's seemed to be pretty effective too, but you have to be careful with it. Let's see. I did actually do the Montenegros earlier on. Dubrovnik is one I don't have yet. I don't even have a permit for that. Well, wait, no, I do because that's a clue guy too. I just don't have that geographic variation. Do we need a permit to order deaf felling beetles or velvet ants? Kind of depends. You'll have to figure out where you are on that. Part of it depends on your state, because if your state has a species in there already and you're getting it from in-state, you probably don't need a permit at all. If you're getting it from a state where you don't have them at all, it's going to be a little trickier. So you have to kind of look into your own state. And there are some species that don't need permits at all, like Daphnia and Scuds. I asked about those and I said, can I ship Daphnia and Scuds? And they said, yes, we don't regulate them at all. This one is my mixed colony of oranges and dairy cows. And as you can see, there are oranges in here, but not nearly as many as there are the dairy cows. For whatever reason, they just go, the dairy cows breed faster. So I think that's interesting. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. So I'm not sure about velvet ants because they do parasitize pollinators, so not sure how that goes out of state. What size tubs do you use for your big cultures? I don't know what that size is called, actually. I think it might be 32 quart, but I'm not sure. Can a giant Asian mushroom be kept with fish, or would it catch them? I bet it would try to catch them. That's true, the Mexican butterwort. I've been thought about doing that. Yeah, and in Florida, that's one of the states where I can't ship as many things there. I don't think I can ship Dilatatus, Laevis, Klugi, or Maculatum. And I'd have to check. So, hey Noah, welcome. And Wally, who's the mod in this live stream right now, he is having some interesting results when he's crossing his oranges with his dairy cows. So I haven't had any particularly interesting results yet, but he's getting some. So it may well be possible. I haven't had a single wild type show up yet, but it seems like Wally mentioned on his video before that he is getting it to happen. It looks like it's starting, so that would be really cool.
Yeah, I gotta look at that butterwort thing. I would like to do that. I like carnivorous plants, and I haven't kept any for a while, so gotta try that. I've only kept sundews and Venus flytraps, but they're pretty cool. Well, time is about up, everyone. I should go, but I've got some exciting news coming up in my video on Friday, so be sure not to miss that. Thanks for joining in, and we'll catch you later. Yeah, I can ship to Arizona. I've got a pass for that one, a permit for that. And different isopods we've kept together, I try not to do it at all. Try not to keep them together at all, although I've done it by accident a couple of times. So usually no more than 2 or 3 species though. All right, thank you everyone, and we'll catch you later.